The storm raged over the mountains as Bruce Banner stood at the edge of a shattered cliff, watching lightning strike the ruins of an ancient laboratory hidden beneath layers of rock, knowing that something far more dangerous than science had awakened. The ground trembled beneath his feet as strange energy pulses lit the night sky, and deep within the darkness of the lab, a shadow moved with a terrifying intensity that sent chills down his spine. For this was no ordinary Hulk. This was the Infernal Hulk, a being of raw power fused with ancient cosmic energy, its glowing eyes scanning the world with a hunger that seemed almost alive. And as Bruce cautiously descended into the labyrinth of metal and debris, he could feel the air itself vibrating with a dangerous force that threatened to consume everything in its path. While in a distant city, Dr. Elias Voss, a veteran scientist and cryptologist, pored over yellowed manuscripts and symbols that no living human had seen for centuries, discovering a prophecy that spoke of a creature of unimaginable strength rising to challenge humanity, a warning that had been buried in time until now. And as the first tremors of destruction shook the city streets, citizens fleeing in terror witnessed buildings collapse and fires erupt from nowhere, the chaos echoing like a distant scream that grew louder with every step the Infernal Hulk took, leaving Bruce to struggle with the realization that this was not merely a monster of rage, but a force driven by something far beyond human comprehension. And as he approached the epicenter of the disturbance, flashes of the creature's past memories of Banner, of lost control, of moments of regret flickered in his mind, forcing him to confront the duality of the being he had become, each step drawing him closer to a confrontation that could either save or destroy everything he loved. And Voss, guiding him remotely through a network of ancient machinery and technology, shouted warnings about the volatile energy readings, insisting that any wrong move could trigger a chain reaction that would obliterate the city, while simultaneously deciphering the cryptic symbols that might hold the key to calming the Infernal Hulk, a delicate balance of science and intuition that left no room for error. And as Bruce finally entered the heart of the laboratory, the Infernal Hulk emerged from the shadows, towering and radiant with fiery energy, the roar that escaped its mouth echoing through the mountains like thunder, shaking the very foundations of the earth. And in that moment, Bruce reached out, trying to communicate, to remind the creature of his humanity, his voice trembling yet determined as he called out to the monster that was both himself and something far beyond. While Voss continued his calculations, sweat dripping from his brow as the countdown to disaster ticked ever closer, and the Infernal Hulk paused, its blazing eyes locking onto Bruce, recognizing a faint echo of the man who had once been in control. But the violent energy coursing through it made hesitation fleeting, a dangerous moment hanging in the balance. For if the creature moved even slightly, the devastation would be unstoppable. And with the city burning in the distance and the storm above raging with unnatural fury, Bruce and Voss prepared themselves for the impossible task of confronting an entity that was not only physically unstoppable but spiritually relentless, a being born from rage and ancient power. And as the first part of this story draws to a close, the camera lingers on the Infernal Hulk's glowing form, poised between fury and recognition, leaving the audience breathless, hanging on the edge of suspense, desperate to see what happens next when science, courage, and human will collide with the unstoppable force of the Infernal Hulk. The city lay in ruins as smoke and fire rose into the sky, reflecting the chaos that had spread from the mountains to the heart of civilization. And Bruce Banner, bruised and exhausted, raced through the streets toward the core of the ancient laboratory, where the Infernal Hulk drew its terrifying power, knowing that every second counted, while Dr. Elias Voss guided him through comes, his voice tense with urgency as he warned of unstable energy surges that could level the city in moments. And the Infernal Hulk, sensing Bruce's presence, moved with unstoppable force, each step shaking the ground, scattering debris, and forcing terrified civilians to flee in every direction, their screams mingling with the distant crackle of fire and the roar of the creature, while Bruce, driven by desperation and courage, remembered fragments of humanity within the Hulk, memories of friends, loss, and moments of fleeting calm. And he shouted, calling to the creature that was both monster and himself, attempting to reach the flickering spark of reason inside the Infernal Hulk, even as its fiery rage threatened to consume everything. And as he approached the core, a chamber of ancient glowing energy, He saw the raw power pulsing like a living heartbeat, a swirling vortex of cosmic force that radiated heat and light. Its intensity so great that even Voss's carefully calibrated containment devices quivered at the edges of their capability. And the Infernal Hulk emerged before him taller and more radiant than ever, its eyes blazing like molten fire, the roar that erupted from its chest, echoing across the city and shaking the streets with a sound that seemed almost alive. And in that instant Bruce realized that brute force would accomplish nothing, that fighting the creature with anger or weapons would only accelerate the destruction, and he knew he had to appeal to the consciousness still trapped within, the part of Hulk that was Banner, and he spoke, his voice steady and filled with emotion, recounting memories of people he had saved, moments of mercy and the importance of controlling rage, pleading with the Infernal Hulk to recognize the man it had once been. And for a moment the creature hesitated, its glowing form flickering like a flame in the wind, revealing glimpses of vulnerability beneath the fury, while Voss activated the containment device, sending streams of energy to stabilize the vortex and begin the delicate process of drawing the raw power back into the core. And the Infernal Hulk thrashed violently, sending shockwaves across the chamber. Yet Bruce stood his ground, reaching out, his hands trembling, but his determination unwavering, speaking to the creature as if speaking to himself, reminding it of the balance between rage and reason, of the necessity of restraint. And slowly the flames of fury began to subside, replaced by a glow of recognition, as if the creature understood that the power it wielded could be used not for destruction but for control. And as Voss guided the containment process with precise calculations, the swirling energy around the core began to stabilize, pulsing in rhythm with the heartbeat of the city. And the Infernal Hulk let out a final, thunderous roar, not of rage but of release, as the fiery energy that had consumed its body spiraled into the core, merging with the ancient machinery to create a controlled, contained force. And Bruce, feeling the connection, allowed the Hulk to merge with him once more, the immense power coursing through his veins, a sensation of overwhelming strength balanced by clarity, a harmony that he had never experienced before. While outside, the fires began to die down, the smoke slowly clearing to reveal the battered but surviving city, citizens emerging cautiously, their eyes wide with disbelief at the scale of the destruction, yet relieved at the survival of the day. And as Bruce and Voss stood amid the rubble, their expressions a mixture of exhaustion and relief, they realized the battle had been won. But the war was far from over, for the energy contained within the core still hummed with potential, a reminder that such power could never truly be destroyed, only managed. And in the quiet aftermath, Bruce gazed at the sky, feeling the weight of responsibility heavier than ever, knowing that the Infernal Hulk was not just a creature of rage, but a reflection of the choices he would face in the future, a constant test of his ability to control and channel power. While Voss documented every detail, ensuring that humanity could learn from the event, preparing contingencies should the energy ever awaken again. And as night fell, the camera panned to the underground core, where faint, flickering symbols hinted that the ancient forces were not fully dormant, leaving a lingering tension, a suggestion that the Infernal Hulk, though subdued, might one day rise again under different circumstances. And the screen cut to Bruce, standing tall, his eyes reflecting both sorrow and determination, the weight of the world pressing on his shoulders, knowing that heroism was not just in saving the day, but in surviving the burden of power. And as the credits began to roll, subtle hints of future challenges flashed on the screen, faint glimmers of unknown cosmic forces, shadowy figures watching from afar, and the faint, echoing roar of the Infernal Hulk deep within the laboratory, leaving the audience with an exhilarating mix of relief and anticipation, eager for the next chapter, realizing that the story of the Infernal Hulk was far from over, that the battle between human control and unstoppable power had just begun, and that Bruce Banner, both man and monster, would have to navigate a world where the line between hero and threat was thinner than ever. A world where every choice could ignite unimaginable chaos, yet every moment also held the promise of redemption. And in the quiet closing shot, the camera lingered on Bruce's face, illuminated by the dim glow of the core, a determined, haunted expression, signaling that the legend of the Infernal Hulk would continue, not just as a story of destruction, but as a tale of courage, resilience, and the unending struggle between fury and humanity.